My brain is like a factory. That big pile of who knows what is always churning out idea after idea with no end in sight. I've created fictional worlds for books I never finished writing, plot outlines for shows I can't animate, and the subject of today's video, ideas for games I don't know how to make. Funk made this video first, but we all have ideas and I want a piece of that pie. He had a really good idea for the title though, and I'm totally stealing that. Now, if I had a production budget to hire an artist, or if I could draw, I would animate myself talking over this whole thing and have wicked visuals. Instead, we're gonna use Dave from Homestuck, and I'm gonna do whatever I can for background visuals. Let's go. I got 8 ideas and each of them come in thematic pairings. Whoever saves the best for last is dumb. I'm starting out with my 2 favorite ideas, both of which have you play a character on a mission from God himself. One literally, one debatably. Let me set the scene. You are a Knight Templar from the Crusades. You were frozen in ice or fell through a wormhole or some shit like that and ended up at the end of the planet Earth. It's 1983 and hell has spilled over into the surface world. Apocalypse now. You grab your greatsword and go fucking nuts. The way I imagine gameplay is like this. As a base template, think OG Contra, side-scroller with a few different paths to explore. Now expand that map to include a lot more verticality and crossing pathways, secrets to discover like Sonic Mania. Now focus in on the platforming. For this, I'm picturing Rayman Legends as the main inspiration, especially the level Castle Rock, because that also includes the next level of gameplay, music and rhythm. That's right, this is technically a rhythm game. For the last main addition, we're adding parkour. Your Crusader's gonna slide, roll, leap, and vault over obstacles, slashing his way through demons and devils and other hellish spawn on his way to his final destination, a vault full of his Crusader brethren and all the weapons he could possibly need to kill the devil for good. And also implement top-down 3D-ish levels for special moments, kill X amount of enemies, maybe boss fights, that sort of thing, like a bonus level. Gameplay for this would more closely resemble Akane. Traveling between missions would be done through a little overworld map, like in this one Dark Souls animation, and while the levels would be handcrafted and carry plot importance, there would also be a roguelike mode that randomizes the levels and rewards for further replayability. Each time you die, you get sent directly to heaven, where you chat with God and upgrade your gear. Death would not so much be a failure state as much as a break. You have to keep going as long as you can until you die, unlocking upgrades along the way, but you can't use most of them until you die and are able to affect your loadout. This makes difficulty something players are able to pace for themselves. Is the game too easy? Don't die, and the game will get harder as you stay at the same power level. When you eventually die, you can bring yourself up to smack. Is the game too hard? Die enough and you'll become overpowered. I'd want God voiced by either the Halo announcer dude or Patrick Warburton. Both because of the vault you're seeking throughout the game and because a vault is a core move in parkour, I'd title the game Deus Vault, which I'm very proud of. It's 1 AM on a Thursday. You're drinking at a hole-in-the-wall bar. The crappy TV in the corner announces there's been a zombie apocalypse. A man puts his hand on your shoulder. It's God. Or maybe some other drunk guy. He presses his car keys into your hand. You've earned them, champ. Go make me proud, he says. You know what to do. The gameplay is just you driving a car as fast as you can, killing as many zombies as possible without crashing. You can chug more drinks as you drive for a speed boost or to slow down time or other supernatural powers depending on the beverage. Imagine Into the Dead, but instead of running and avoiding zombies, you're driving and hitting as many as possible. I can see the gameplay evolving over the levels to include vehicle upgrades, different vehicles, different drinks, and possibly even a competitive multiplayer mode where people compete to get the top scores. I especially think a train level would kick ass, as well as a boat level. There would be a DLC for a level in outer space where you pilot a rocket through space zombie aliens or some shit. It's a very simple concept, but I think it has immense potential. Like our last game, there would be a set amount of handcrafted story missions, as well as a randomly generated roguelike mode. It's called God's Drunkest Driver. Somebody please make this, and please let me voice the drunk driver. Our next thematic pairing are in the life simulator genre. Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, The Good Life. Cozy social productivity games. You go to a little village and throughout the game, work to improve the lives of yourself and everyone around you. Well, I'm bored of that. My game has you go to a cute little village and plot and scheme to ruin every single person's life in that village. Snoop in their houses, out their heinous secrets, blackmail, manipulate, girl boss, what have you. I call it Fed Simulator. Seriously, just run this city into the fucking ground, cause divorces, sow mayhem. I see the gameplay looking like a mix between Thief Simulator for the on-the-ground stuff and having like an eye-in-the-sky UI to work when plotting, like when and where to plant evidence for maximum impact and damage. There could be a secret happy ending where you actually pull the strings to cause social harmony, but there are zero hints or tutorials on how to achieve this in the entire game. It is not remotely advertised or guided. It's completely secret. My next idea is pretty simple, but in my humble opinion, complete fucking genius. It would just be a simple life sim like Stardew or any of the others I mentioned, but things are off in some way. Eventually, the game could break the fourth wall, and the character could realize they are in a simulation, or a TV show, or the game itself, whatever works. The point of it is that it wouldn't be marketed that way whatsoever, and technically, you could play the life sim forever without ever picking up on the clues the game leaves you. Unlike the Stanley Parable, you would have to break out of the cycle of mundanity yourself, which I think would create an unforgettable gaming experience. Imagine The Truman Show, but interactive and obviously significantly different enough that it doesn't feel like a ripoff, and it doesn't feel predictable. The next category I call, why has nobody done this? Because the ideas aren't that deep or unique, but I think it's an obvious combination of genres that just hasn't happened yet. The first is an MMO. MMOs are designed to get people to play effectively forever. They have historically done this by doing mostly annoying things, time-wasting quests, XP locking areas, making leveling up slow and mentally exhausting, and requiring a lot of grindy combat. That, plus, in my opinion, the greatest offender, making your character traverse the world slowly. I find this all to be really stupid when there are games out there that already contain infinite replayability. Roguelikes. Most people play MMOs only partially for the gameplay, but more so for the storyline, the sense of character progression, and the multiplayer appeal. That plus a large social hub. If you created the perfect social hub, then made a roguelike on the level of Risk of Rain 2 or Hades, and used that to replace the endless grinding, and on top of that released a new story campaign each year like MMOs do regularly, I feel like the world would devour that. Let players choose between a pay-by-expansion model, where they can get the bare minimum to unlock each new story for a single set price, but have it be set back by one expansion in time. You can buy Expansion 2 when Expansion 3 releases for the subscription model, and so on. That way you can maintain the money-hungry model MMOs always have without actually being an asshole about it. If I had to choose the setting for the game, I'd make it a game within a game kind of thing, Sword Art Online style. Your character is trapped in a game and they have to beat each level of the game to progress and eventually defeat the entire game they're in. In between that, there's the social hub that can have a lot of depth to it as well. It's such a shame nobody has done this. The other why hasn't somebody made this yet is another genre marriage, city development and tower defense. Bloons is fun, but it gets old. What if you had something more at stake than completing that level? What if it was the post-apocalypse and you were trying to keep your city alive? You had to manage food, resources, etc., but every night monsters came to your gates. That's when the tower defense starts. You have to split your resources between keeping your people alive inside the walls and keeping the monsters outside, and if you lose a level, you lose a chunk of your population, setting your progress backwards. I feel like mixing these two is a no-brainer. It adds stakes and complexity to the tower defense, and it adds more action and tension to the city development. I'm not sure if this is the right comparison because I haven't played it, but Frostpunk seems to be the kind of game I'm envisioning here. Slap Bloons on that and we're golden. The last thematic pairing is just co-op games. Pretty simple. The first would be somewhat of a digital board game. One person plays as a detective, another plays as a serial killer. At each crime scene, player 2 has to choose to prioritize what aspects of their crime to cover up best. The lower your priority, the higher odds of you making a mistake or leaving behind a clue. Say you prioritized not leaving behind any fingerprints, but you neglected in creating an alibi. When the detective's turn comes, they can analyze all of their subjects and see that the randomly generated citizen you play as has no alibi for that night. This would be expanded into many aspects of the crime, more than just 2. Based on the difficulty of the game, there would be a limited number of suspects, or the killer would have to reach a certain quota of kills before they win, which could be adjusted to each player's skill level. None of this would be in physical first-person space, but more of a digital layout of the aspects of each scene, almost like a mix between Papers, Please for analyzing each suspect, and Obra Dinn for exploring each crime scene. Somewhat like Mafia or Werewolf in concept, but for 2 players and much more in-depth. The last game is super simple, it's tag. 2 players in a big parkour arena. Me and my sister used to play this in a ton of different games, and it was such a blast I still miss it sometimes. Most notably, I remember playing tag in Toy Story 3 on the fucking Wii for whatever reason. Seriously, such a fun game mode we made up, I can't believe it was something that wasn't officially programmed, but basically 2 people, big arena, you can run and jump and do all this parkour shit. If you touch the other person, they're it and now they chase you. That's literally all you need. Also, this isn't really a idea for a game as much as, hey, what if you made Overwatch or Team Fortress 2 or any hero shooter you can think of, but with the characters from Homestuck? Because those motherfuckers have the craziest fucking abilities you have ever seen in any piece of fiction ever. And if you could make that game, it would be crazy. That's all I'm saying. That's the end of the video. See you later.
A little less conversation, a little more action, please. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more bite, a little less bark. A little less fight, a little more spark. Close your mouth and open up your heart, and baby, entertain me. Entertain me, baby.